Are you looking to improve your sales without resorting to pushy tactics? Welcome to Sales Made Easy, the podcast that helps you to achieve better sales results and gain long-lasting clients through relational selling. Let's get right into it. We're off to the races. We have a special treat, another special treat. Mr. Intentional Encouragement is joining us for the Sales Made Easy podcast. And if you don't know Brian Sexton, you're in for a treat because this gentleman is all about treating people well, and he's built a great sales career over the years. So, Brian, welcome to the show. What's the good word, Mr.
Harry
Intentional
Spade.
Encourager?
Harry Spade. Every time I'm with you, it's wonderful, and we don't get to do this enough. And I'm so grateful for you. You've been on this journey with me the last 6 years, and so thank you for having me on the Sales Made Easy podcast.
Brian, so you said 6 years, and like, for goodness sakes, did we meet? How did we meet? Was it through Larry
Yeah.
Levine or?
Yeah. Larry connected us, and it was 2019,
Yeah.
and Larry connected us, and your good friend and mine, Eric Conovalov, we connected that way together. And in fact, we did a couple of podcasts when I had the Intentional Encourager podcast. Had you and Eric on together, and then we had you guys on separately, and had Larry on, and Daryl, Amy. So yeah, it's but we've all just stayed in touch over the years. It's funny. I had another one of Larry Levine's connections I have breakfast with quite regularly when I'm in Roanoke, Virginia, and that's Mike Garrison. Mike and I have breakfast when I'm in the Roanoke area, which that's part of my territory. Mike and I have breakfast together, and so it's a good thing. You know, this community is small, but it's powerful. It's mighty, and the connections that we've all built with each other have been. I was working in Arkansas and had lunch with Daryl, down there in Arkansas, and so that was awesome. So yeah, it's been a while. You guys have all been great supporters on this journey we've been on together.
Yeah, it's great. So talk to me a little bit about what moved you. I know that you wrote a book a few years ago, People Buy From People, which was largely a tribute to your father and how he sold. And, he just had a wonderful approach about sales, and apparently passed that on to you. But tell me a little bit about what moved you to write this new book and start talking about this new, it's like, I don't want to say brand, but it's really becoming your persona, is this intentional encouragement. So talk to me about this.
Well, Harry, you can see my dad's picture over my shoulder in my office here. Harry, my dad taught me a lot about connection. My dad passed away almost 12 and a half years ago, December of 2012, and I detailed that in People Buy From People. But what I didn't realize, Harry, was my dad was also he was the original intentional encourager. My dad made me believe that I could do anything. And here's how the journey started for me. When I started hanging out on LinkedIn about 6 years ago and started meeting fantastic people like yourself and Larry and Mike and Daryl and Eric and those guys, I saw not with you, not with that group specifically, but I saw a lot of people that just felt like that they needed to share a lot of expertise. And I saw way more expertise, and I saw very little encouragement. And I thought, I can fix that. I can move into that role. And the reason I did People Buy From People first, Harry, was because I had been kind of putting that off, and I kind of challenged myself at the beginning of 2020 and said, it's either now or never. And I wanted to really wanted to honor my dad. I really felt like for me that was super important to honor my dad. And so, my dad passed away when he was 59, and I will be 53 in August. So for me, I felt like that clock was ticking. I'm not saying I'm going to have the same path as my dad did, but I just kind of felt the clock ticking. So it was right in 22 and 23 to start laying that groundwork. That's really why I wanted to get rid of the podcast, the Intentional Encourager podcast, was so I could focus on the Intentional Encouragement book, and spent 23 and 24 doing that. And it came out late last year and at the end of 24. So that's the impetus behind that. It's just, Harry, everybody on the planet needs intentional encouragement. Not everybody are salespeople. Everybody's a connector, but people are accountants or they're engineers like my son, they're brain surgeons, people like that. And so not
Yeah.
everybody's salespeople like you and I are. But we all need intentional encouragement. Everybody on the planet needs it. And so I feel like it's a universal message that the time was right to release it.
I like it. So just in a nutshell, what is intentional encouragement in your mind?
That's a great question. So it's really simple. So I'm gonna break the definition down for you. Intentional encouragement is stimulating, edifying, and promoting internal positive beliefs on purpose.
Okay. So,
That's the definition of it.
yeah,
And so when you talk about stimulation, okay, I am sitting here in my Cincinnati Bengals mug drinking, and I've got a red shirt on for a reason because it's spring training, and my
yeah,
dad, I grew up in Southern Ohio, just not far from where I live now, and this is Reds country, and so
I
spring
see.
training is going on right now, and so I thought, well, I'll just wear this, but Harry, stimulation, everybody, most Americans, that's why you see coffee shops on every corner.
Mm,
Most Americans need stimulation first thing in the morning. Okay. Stimulation wakes everything up. Okay. So we have to do the same thing with our positive beliefs sometimes,
mm,
because there's a lot of things that can bombard us negatively, especially if you're in sales. You get up and you look at your numbers and your numbers aren't quite where they need to be, or you look at your commission check and it's not right where it should be in your mind. This prospect I've been working on is not quite responding the way that you thought they
mm,
would. And so we all need to stimulate those positive beliefs. So stimulation is the first thing. Then you talk about edification. That's an old fashioned word, but it simply means to build up those
mm,
internal beliefs. So once we get them stimulated, how do we lift them internally? So that's a part of encouragement. And then the third thing is promotion. We as salespeople know a lot about promotion, right? It's taking those beliefs and just broadcasting it internally within us to everything in our psyche and our emotions and our mindset that it needs to be promoted to. When you're selling B2B, you want to touch as many customers as you can within your segment of business. And it's the same thing internally. We've got to promote those beliefs internally and do it on purpose, right?
mm.
That's what the intentional part is. And so that's really in a nutshell what intentional encouragement is all about.
This is great. So, you mentioned this term about stimulation, and it's
Yep.
not like every day. I mean, I'm very positive. I know you're
Yep.
very positive, but
Yep.
it's not like 24/7. We're in this zone of complete positivity. Sometimes we get in a funk. Sometimes things aren't
Yep.
going the way we thought, like you mentioned. So this is where there's an opportunity to kind of reflect a little bit. Sometimes it's picking up a book. Sometimes it's listening to a podcast. It could be prayer. There's all kinds of ways where we can kind of snap out, or sometimes it's just a matter of we
Yep.
just need a break, right? We
Yep.
just have to, I think it's very natural for our bodies and our brains to kind of wind down, and it's okay, right? This doesn't mean that we just flipped the
Yeah.
script and went negative. We are still positive, but we
So
need
you ever been in a
sometimes to
pit
chill.
so you
Yeah.
ever been
So
in a pitch dark room?
yes.
What's the first thing you're searching for?
Well, if I don't want to be in pitch dark, I'm going to be looking for a light switch.
Exactly. Exactly. And
Yeah.
so that's what, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. The stimulation part, and you were going right there with me on that. The stimulation part is really just turning that switch on inside your mind intentionally. I want to stimulate these beliefs.
Yeah.
Okay. Because here's the thing. We are bombarded and we are pounded on a daily basis by beliefs that are counterintuitive to what we know about ourselves. We can turn on so many negative things about in our world.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, you know, I, if I wanted to, I could listen to all the people that have said Bengals have botched free agency so far in the NFL. I just choose not to, or I could turn, I could surround myself and I could feed all the people that agree with the way that I agree or the way that I think, but that's not true stimulation, Harry. What true
Mm,
stimulation is those beliefs you know about yourself, that nothing a belief. I don't say anymore I think, okay?
mm,
Because thoughts are easily changed. I've had opinions over the years that have been changed.
sure.
I've had things that I've thought, but as I got older, I realized no, that's not exactly. And life has a way of shaping those things. Beliefs are really hard to change. You know, if you believe that peanut butter causes cancer, there's nothing I'm going to be able to do or say to you that's going to change your mind on that. You are persuaded that peanut butter causes cancer. And I'm using that as an example.
Hmm.
But again, that's where those positive beliefs inside of us have to be concrete. They have to be, because what do you do with a house? That's why edification is a part of this. The first thing you do before you ever put up a 2x4 as a stud in the house is you got to lay that concrete foundation. Otherwise, your house is going to fall down. And so that's why we talk about edification. We have to have those beliefs that are concrete inside of us. Nobody's going to change those positive, and that's the key word, those positive beliefs within us.
So, with your day to day, how does this come out in real life as you're meeting people?
So here's the thing. I'm not on 24/7. I don't know anybody that's on 24/7. Here's how it starts for me most mornings. The way it starts for me most mornings is I wake up when I open my eyes and I just thank the Lord for another day.
Mm,
In my situation, and I talk about it in People Buy From People, my dad didn't wake up. My dad went to sleep, got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom like most 50 somethings do, but most 50 somethings men do. And he didn't wake up. I mean,
mm,
my mom said she heard him get up about 3:30 in the morning and it was 6 a.m. She went to wake him up. So sometime between 3:30 and 6, he passed away. And so,
mm,
you just kind of realize that, hey, my eyes are open. This
mm.
is a good thing. And so from there, that's how I kind of turn everything on is okay. Um, I try to attack the day with purpose. Um, I got into an argument at church one night. I was teaching Bible study.
Mhm.
Got into a little bit of an argument at church one night because somebody was talking about passion. I hate the word passion. I don't wake up every day passionate.
Okay.
You know what? What I do, Harry, is I wake up every morning with purpose.
Mm,
You know, there,
okay.
there's there, purpose gets you, one foot in front of the other. Purpose is that, you know what? I don't want to make that last call of the day. I've made 15 calls today. I don't want to make number 16. But then your purpose kicks in and goes, you know what? My plan was to see 16 folks today.
Mhm.
I want to make sure I make that last call. And so the purpose that how everything turns on for me is just reminding myself of the purpose of the day. And then that gets it going for me. But
Mm,
but you can stimulate those beliefs. Some people wake up and they listen to music. Some people wake up and they have a cup of coffee and they just sit and read. Some people meditate. However you want to stimulate those beliefs is up to you. The way
mm,
I do it is I just start out with gratitude. Hey, I'm grateful for another day. I get up, I make my bed, I, check in on my wife, just kind of start the day
mhm.
and then just kind of transition into that. Okay, this is what I got to do today. And if something comes up that is stressful, if something comes up, let me say this. Stress leads to discouragement. Discouragement closes the mind.
Mm,
Okay. So that's why I would say to somebody listening, if you got a lot of stress in your life, you're going to have discouragement. They go hand in hand. They go hand in
mm,
glove. And so, the first thing we need to do is we need to kind of get that stress backed up. What's causing that stress? Is it internal stress or is it external stress? Sometimes the biggest stressor is us, and it's right here.
Right.
I told my 24-year-old one day, I said, "You're giving away valuable real estate to people and things that don't need to have it." And so, you gotta eliminate those things. And so for
You mean like
salespeople,
thoughts, right? Where you're talking about
yeah,
thoughts.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So listen, I would tell a salesperson, what do you know about yourself that what do you know about yourself? What you do, who you are? What do you know about yourself? And then repeat those values to yourself internally. It's not affirmations. Affirmations is a junk food of encouragement, but it's knowing what you do well. Knowing, hey, I'm a great connector. When I'm in front of a customer, they get my undivided attention. If you do that well, if I were a sales manager and I saw that in people, let me add this one caveat. I know I'm kind of rambling here, but as a sales manager, I want to speak to sales managers for a minute.
Hmm.
Encourage your people. Tell them one thing about them that you value. And here's how that conversation looks. Harry, you know what I value about you? You're a fantastic connector. So here's what I need from you this week. Every interaction that you're with, either on the phone with a customer or in front of that customer face to face, I need you to do that. Some people have an aha moment. They have a V8 moment because
Mm-hmm.
nobody promotes that within them. And they go, I didn't realize that they saw me as a great connector. I need to do that. And when you tell that salesperson, just go do that, and you break it down to the lowest common denominator, then you talk about sales made easy, right?
Yeah.
Now we're operating in our zone of efficiency.
Yeah. It's like just finding ways to give compliments. This is sometimes is very frustrating in sales leadership because you're taking on the responsibility for the team.
Yeah.
And if the numbers aren't where they need to be, then you're feeling the heat as a sales leader, but you cannot pass that along to the
Right.
team, right? Because
Right.
the int- that's the unintentional discouragement versus intentional encouragement, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I was that sales leader, and here's the thing: what I learned to do was when my boss was like, "Well, why is their numbers down?" And I could go and I could say, "Well, you got to remember this." And I was in the food distribution business. So I might look back at last year and go, "Well, hey, this guy had a huge restaurant opening where their opening order was 40,000 to $40,000
Mm,
to get
yeah.
them open with. And they don't have that this year because the sales have leveled off to where they're supposed to be. And so what I would tell a sales leader or a sales manager is when you stay encouraged yourself, one, it's easier to encourage others. Two, it's easier to pour into people staying encouraged because you can't pour into anybody from an empty bucket. And three, you see more clearly what the true picture is. Harry, I can see the two pictures behind you and I can see detail in those pictures because your camera's clear. Okay. If I
Mm,
made an adjustment to my webcam, things would get a little fuzzy. And so intentional encouragement just sharpens up that picture where you can really see. I can see the detail in the ducks. I can see the detail in the cattails around the birds that you have on the wall there. That's what encouragement does for us. It sharpens the mind and it clears out those things that don't need to be there that can create a cloudy picture.
yeah. So when you think about knowing the details, so the sales leader may hear what you just mentioned, right? Your numbers are down
Yep.
from last year, and
Yep.
they're just looking at spreadsheets or data pulled from
Yep.
some system, and you have the story to tell, right? So
Yep.
knowing the details can take some pressure off, you know, but it doesn't change the fact that people generally in positions who are not sales expect that sales are supposed to be easy for everybody. And in a perfect world, the trajectory is always a nice ramp of 10% growth and
Yep.
everything is wonderful.
Yep.
It's just rarely the case. But after those types of meetings where maybe we have to kind of defend ourselves, defend the team, so forth,
Yep.
we have to go back and just kind of maybe we don't even go back to the team right away. Sometimes we just have to clear our head and say, why am I doing all this? It's all about the people. It's
Yeah.
all about serving, and then go and reflect on the attitude and then come back in. And now you're fresh and free to go again. But you cannot bring that negativity if it's there
Absolutely
in
not.
front of others. So, one of the
Well,
things I
what will
know, I'm
happen?
sorry,
No, just to put a bow on that thought, because what will happen is now you become that sales leader that every time a little problem happens, a little problem becomes more magnified. And if I'm that salesperson, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, is every little problem that we have going to turn into this opportunity to grow that problem to be bigger? We're supposed to be problem solvers, Harry.
right, yeah.
Salespeople are supposed. And here's the thing. Over 30 years of doing this, that I just chuckle. I see some of these newbies, and they're like, "We got to define value, and we've got to be problem solvers." And I'm thinking to myself, when did you decide what the value was for the customer? When did you decide what value your customer takes out of the relationship with you and the transaction with you? And when did you decide that you knew what was best for them and you could solve their problems? When did you get to decide that? And the answer is, God, we know from years of being in the trenches, when we're having those encouraging conversations with our customers, right? When we're saying, "Hey, you know what, Mr. Customer? Here's what I believe about your business. Here's what I admire about your business." And you genuinely share those things with them. That's where those conversations come out,
Mm,
Harry. And people will just start, to be like no offense to those out there, but like a Catholic confessional. They just get in the booth and they just start spewing stuff at the priest. And it's like, then you really get to determine the soul. It's the Samson and Delilah principle, right? When she said, "Samson, you're not telling me the truth. Tell me everything." And then the Bible tells us that he finally bore his soul
mm,
to her.
yeah.
And I've had those moments with customers, right? And you have too, where they've just like, "Here's what I'm facing. Here's
Mhm.
the challenges that I have." And now you're starting to go, "I can help
Right.
there. We
Yeah.
can help there. We can do that there." But you're not going to get to that point if you're just thinking about, "Oh, I'm going to define the value, or I'm going to problem solve," right?
Right.
We don't get
Uh,
to that point.
yeah. It's there's your intentional listening has a lot to do with that, right? As far as your intentional encouragement, you have to
Oh, yeah.
listen, right? You have to be intentional about that. So when you go in and you see a person, another human being, right?
Yep.
Where you not even thinking about that this is the person that's going to be a potential buyer for me, but they're just commonly referred to as gatekeepers,
Yep.
people of insignificance, right? They don't really
Yep.
matter. They're not important. I know that's not what you're thinking, right? But sometimes
No.
people in sales, all they're concerned about is having a relationship with the buyer.
Right.
But they get in an elevator and they're grumpy, complaining. And sometimes, I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but your decision maker is riding in the elevator with you and you don't
Yeah.
even know, right? I don't know if
Yeah.
that's ever happened. You walk out
Oh,
together,
yeah.
walking in.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
meeting with that person,
Oh, yeah.
right? So, anyway, so what's your thinking as far as just meeting people in general and bringing your message of encouragement to others?
So here's the thing. What we and I talk about this in People Buy from People. I'm so glad you brought this up. This is why I was looking forward to this conversation, because you just pull these little nuggets out, and we just talk like two old sales guys that have been doing this a long time. I try to look around and pictures on the wall.
Mm,
right? Pictures on the wall tell a story. Maybe something that they're wearing that day tells a story. Um, just look for things. A lot of times we're focused on the gatekeeper in front of us, right? We don't tend to look at the periphery. People tend to put what's important to them. If it's a desk they sit at every day, they kind of put a couple of important things on that desk, right? They
mm,
put pictures on that desk. They put awards on that desk that they've won. Maybe if they're sitting in a space like this where there's something behind them, maybe their degrees on that wall, maybe, picture of their late father, things like
mhm.
that. Connect there. Start to connect there. I'll never forget. I'll tell you a quick story. I used to fly into when I would work in Long Island, New York, go from West Virginia to Long Island, New York. Talk about culture shock, Harry.
Okay.
I mean, my goodness, I'm as hillbilly as they come. And here, it's like Gomer Pyle goes to the big city. Go on, money.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would fly in, instead of flying into JFK, I would fly into White Plains. A little bit further, but it's a
Mhm.
smaller airport. You still
Right.
get to the city. And there was a lady that worked the American Airlines counter. And I noticed one day that either I overheard it or saw it, that her son was in the military. And so every couple of weeks when I would fly up there, I would say, "Hey, how's your son doing?
Mm,
Thank you for his service." That connected us.
sure.
So now every time she saw me come through there, I was going to be that first person on the plane.
Mhm.
This is a true story. I got I always tell my son, act like you belong. So what I used to do is when they would call the concierge key members, I would just draw it up there like I own the place and they, hey, drop my boarding pass on my phone on the thing, wait for the beep and go on. Do you know there were people behind me that were rude to this lady?
Yeah.
And I was kind to her, and talk with her. We developed a relationship. She let me on the plane. She like, you go ahead. I heard these people behind her and she said, these people behind me, I was walking up the jet bridge and she goes, I didn't call your row. I didn't call your group number. And they were an older couple. And she said, you need to step back. You need to go sit down. I didn't call your group yet. And what I figured was they were not nice to her.
Mm, yeah.
They were nasty to her. They just kind of assumed because of who they were important in their own mind. A lot of self-important people, right, Harry?
Yeah.
Don't we have buyers that kind of feel like they're self-important and things like that? And so again, it was just it was just kindness. It's simple stuff. I mean, your podcast, Sales Made Easy. Hello. This is what you need to understand is just be kind, just be nice, just be somebody worth talking. Be somebody
Yeah.
worth having a 30-second conversation with.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, Harry.
Yeah.
It's so easy. If you can't have a 30-second kind conversation with somebody, what are we doing?
Yeah. And it goes a long way. I mean, the whole thing about being inspirational, it's like sometimes we might say that, the world isn't, whatever. It's too challenging. There's too much negativity. I can't make an impact. But those 30 seconds, like you mentioned, the grocery store, wherever, can make someone's day, which they bring home and make, going from a foul mood to a better mood, which can make an impact in a lot of different ways, right? So
And how many
totally
people
agree.
forget eye contact? You and I grew up with we grew up around people. I was so grateful that you told your story to me on the Intentional Encourager podcast. By the way, go to YouTube, find that, scroll down, look at the conversation. This man has had such an interesting life. You've got to hear the conversation, the places you've been, and the things that you've done, and the upbringing that you had. We were always taught growing up, Harry, that you made eye contact with
Right.
people,
Yeah.
and we've lost that in our society. And it's so powerful when you make eye contact with somebody and you're having that 1 minute conversation. Maybe you're sitting across the table from them and maybe just kind of lean forward a little bit, or go, wow, that was, thank you. Thank you for telling me that. Right?
I'm laughing because I totally, it throws people off when you make eye contact, especially the younger generation. Is that so? Maybe in the coffee shop or again at the checkout at the counter, you ask someone how their day is going or what's happening good so far today or what's the good word, things I say. And I look at the eyes. So when they glance over and see the eye contact, you can tell there is a pause as this like, this is not normal. Someone
Yeah.
making eye contact with
You know what I do when I'm talking to somebody? I ignore everybody around me. And a true story, I had that happen at church one time.
me. Yeah.
I had to go to a guy because I was talking to somebody, and when I'm talking to you, I want you to have my full attention.
Yeah.
And I ignored this guy, and I could see him out of the periphery,
Yeah.
and I ignored him. And I came to him later and I said, "Listen, I want to tell you something. I wasn't trying to ignore you, but when I'm talking to somebody, just like I'm talking to you now, I don't want anybody to take that time and that attention because I want you to feel like I want us to feel like when we're having a conversation, it's just you and I in the room."
Yeah.
He goes, "I can't, thank you. I can't believe that." And that's not to pat Brian on the back. Harry, and I'm making eye contact with you now. That's just the way I am. And I taught my 24-year-old son to do that. I said, look,
Mhm.
somebody's talking to you, make eye contact. We don't do that anymore. And that's the single greatest thing I think we can do. You talk about being intentional with people and encouraging people. I mean, what's more encouraging than, and everybody, here's the catchphrase. Well, I want people to feel seen. I want to feel seen. There's no greater way you can be. There's a difference between feeling seen and being seen.
Yeah.
I'd rather somebody be seen and them leave an interaction with me and go, man, Brian really listened to what I had to say.
Yeah.
I was the most important person. Even with my wife, sometimes I want to lock in. And I didn't always do this, but when
Mhm.
she's talking to me, I try to lock in. And if I'm not locked in, she goes, "What'd I say?" Then I can repeat back to her what she just said, and she just that makes
It
her
never
mad.
happens to me.
That makes her mad. I can hear what she said,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
but
funny.
but
Yeah.
again, it's all about encouraging customers. Look, one thing I wanted to say really quickly is
Sure.
salespeople. The easiest thing you can do is intentionally encourage your customers. Be that salesperson that's not talking about product 24/7, not
Right.
talking about service 24/7. Oh, look how great we are. Look at what we can do. When's the last time you sat down with your customer and said, "Hey, here's 3 things that I believe about your business that are valuable to me. And I just want you to know that." You may be sitting across from that customer and they go, "I never realized we did
Yeah.
that."
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden you've pointed that out to them. You've made it about them. And now all of a sudden they go, "Wow, this guy or gal's really paying attention to my business. I need to give them a deeper look."
Mm. Yeah.
And then just repeat that process. Find 2 or 3 more things.
Mhm.
Um, there's a guy I used to call on. I haven't called on him in over 20 years, but I took lessons from how he ran his business, and I still think about him from time to time. Some of the things
Yeah.
he taught me that I still think about to this day. In fact, I saw his son about a month ago. And he's still running that family. The son's running the family business, and they do things exactly the same way. I'm like, I know why you do that because your dad taught you that.
Right. Yeah.
Those are things that I learned from his dad. And so again, it's just if we can encourage customers, then everything starts to open up. That's why the book is titled "The One Thing That Changes Everything." Intentional encouragement, the one thing that changes everything. It really will, Harry. It'll change everything.
I love it. Brian, where can people find this book?
Okay, so I'm going to hold these 2 books up here.
Okay.
This is intentional encouragement. This is the new book, The One
Yeah.
Thing That Changes Everything. Okay.
Okay.
You can find it on Amazon if you want to go that route. This is the first book as well. People buy from people. It's also available on Amazon.
Nice.
But because Harry Spade is such a dear friend, I have a Spade special for the
A
Sales Made
spade
Easy
special.
podcast audience. Okay. You buy intentional encouragement for $20, signed and shipped by me. You get people buy from people free,
Nice.
signed and shipped, $20. You can do that by sending me an email, intentionalencouragement@gmail.com,
Easy.
and just tell me in the subject line, I want the Spate special. And then what I'll do is I'll send you my PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo links. And the reason I do that is I want to handle personally every book that we sell. Okay. And so here's the thing: if you didn't get it, if you order it from Amazon, and for some reason the mail loses it or something, um, good luck trying to get your money back from Amazon. If you order it from me, I'll just send you another book.
Yeah. And it's signed.
It's signed. Yeah, and
It's
I like doing
signed.
that. I put a personal message in every book.
I bet you do.
To that person. I just, whatever's on my mind, thinking about that person, like, that's what I want to do. And we've got some great endorsers. On the back cover is a personal endorsement that means the world to me. My friend Tom Ziegler, son of
Yeah.
the great Zig Ziglar. Tom endorsed this book. I mean, that's the first family of encouragement right there, is
Nice.
the Ziegler family.
Yeah.
Our good buddy Eric Conovalov has been really super important in my life. He is an endorser. Some folks you will know, just very quickly. Let me share this with you. 'Cause I gotta figure out who this is. Mike Garrison, who I talked about.
Mhm.
Mike's an endorser. Um, Alex Smith. Alex is a great guy, great sales guy. There's just some great guys that are friends of mine that endorse this book. Damon Burton, who is an SEO wizard. Damon does a lot on social media. Damon wrote the foreword to this book. So again,
Nice.
intentional encouragement at gmail.com. Just shoot me an email and say, hey, I want the Spate special, 2 books for $20, shipping included, signed and shipped.
We'll put it in the notes. Brian, Mr. Intentional Encourager, thank you for joining us today. It's been phenomenal as always.
Harry, you're the best. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Sales Made Easy. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Also, you're invited to join the Facebook group Sales Training Selling with Dignity. Serve first, the selling will follow.